So you can actually have your short position from this region. That is after you've noticed it on the lower time frame. You have actually jumped in on here, and then you probably have a stop loss of 11 pips. Yeah, 11 pips at most. So let's go with that. And then where do you think your next draw on liquidity will be? We actually expect that it will go to the equilibrium level at least, which is over at this point. But being of a more realistic side too, we could actually use this point right here as our next draw on liquidity, seeing the impulsive or engineered liquidity over at this side. So we expect that this is our next draw on liquidity, and price should ultimately reach this region at least. At the very least, that's where price should get to. And what do we get? We actually see market give at least a 1:9.5, or if we are just being honest, we get 1:10 from this trade. All right, so I don't know how many of us actually got this, but yeah, this was a very, very good entry and a clean and direct use of the ABC pattern, using liquidity and also the use of breaker block. So the same thing also apply, and if you had actually gone for the risky entry, you actually see how that actually goes too, and see how this would be rewarding for you. Probably give you a 1:10 or 1:11 too. We can also see the same thing for the EURUSD. All right. So if we should look at the EURUSD, Shift F. If we should look at the EURUSD, this is the 5 minutes time frame. Also, we can go to the 15 minutes time frame, or rather 1 hour time frame, to get a clearer view. First of all, we actually want to know how the chart is, right? So if you look at the 4 hours time frame, we actually see that we get this impulsive move to the upside following the Fed also, and expected that from this swing low to this point here, market should actually get to at least this low here, all right, which is the equilibrium point. So at the very least, we expect that market should reach this point. All right, so now we can delete this and then add to the 1 hour time frame. So after noticing that we are getting a rejection at the top, we expect that okay, market could be ready for a sell at this point. So from here, we actually see that we get an order block. So there's a bearish order block to the downside, using the let's use the whole of this candle here. So we get a bearish order block to the downside, which is actually our supply region. So looking at the 15 minutes time frame now, what we actually see, if we refine this now, is that our order block is now this zone here. That is the last bullish candle before the bearish candle, and now followed by FVGs in between. All right, so from that we can actually see market, we have this, it's not actually exceeding this region over here. It's not exceeding that region at all, and we do get this also. So we could have our ABC pattern here too. So that's this. So we have this as A, then goes on to give B, which goes on to give which goes on to give C. All right, and then we could actually have this as our 0. I just we actually need to have a starting point, of course. So yeah, that's basically it. So we have this as our 0. So the movement of this 0 here to this point is what gives us our A, and then we have B. As I said, the idea we have for the breakout block to hold, for the breakout block to hold, is that we need to have a bullish order block or a bearish order block. But in this scenario, we are looking at the downside, so we are expecting a bullish order block. Why is this covering my stuff coming? I'll drag it lower. So yeah, we have a bullish order block formed over at this point. So that is what actually goes on to take out this high right here. All right, so and then when price actually comes into this zone, it is expected to actually take price. So rather it is expected to take the highs over at this point here. So we are now expecting price to actually trade lower, considering the fact that we see the market as overbought. All right. So using the ABC pattern, we can see the devouring of liquidity here, where A goes on to devour the liquidity at 0, B goes on to devour the liquidity at A, and then C will potentially have the goal to do the same thing to B also. So which its liquidity is over at this point here. So if we mark that, and as I said, while C is going to try and do that after we've had this formed, we're expecting that we get this and then we use the breakout block to probably trade lower. But while C is actually trying to do that, we will have a change of character in this process, and that's the idea of the ABC pattern itself. And where you actually incorporate that more is where you now have a breakout block formed in the process. That is a bullish order block that's actually been formed to see price go higher. All right, but what happens is that it gets broken, and then you see market go lower, probably test into that zone, and finally breaks the region B and goes to the downside. And what the Ethiopian view will actually show you is something like this. You just go this way, then goes this way, then probably go this way, and then finally this way. That's what the Ethiopian view will show you. But right here, what you need to understand is this here, this one labeled 1 and 2 are actually the same thing. All right, so 1 and 2 are actually the same thing. The Ethiopian view is just going to show you this directly in the textbook, right? And then this is actually the real life view, where it's that okay, there's a change of character that actually occurs on the C side, and the market actually trades into that region before eventually taking out B. So in the future, here's how we can actually capitalize on that. So after we've seen that C has taken B has taken out A to give us C, tapping into the supply zone. Of course, some others could actually take this as a risky entry, all right, and then you see price go lower. But others could actually be using that okay, this is still the Asian region, and future price could actually see this region taken out and possibly go lower. But if you have a core understanding of the ABC pattern, you know that okay, yes, this is actually valid. You might not actually take your entry from this point, but you wait for that C, and then at this point right here, you should notice something. We get a bullish order block form. We get series of bearish candle before we get series of bullish candles engulfing the series of bearish candles. So from there we know that okay, this bullish order block that has been formed right here should actually see price go higher. All right, so from here tap into this region and possibly go higher. But what we actually get is the inverse. All right, and what is that? That is just price moving from this point, going right here, giving a change of market character, and then trading into this region over here, and then plummet like a point dipping anyway. So yeah, we do have this, right? So if we should draw this, it is now a demand on supply. All right, so we can actually map out the coach at this level. So display settings. So you can have CHO, or you can actually see it as the MSS also, and this could actually be considered a flip. So we see market flip to the downside from this. So after it has given this coach, right, it respects this demand zone that has been created here with the creation of B to C, right? So from this, we still expect the market will kind of like fall downwards. So what we expect from this is now, if I should use my POI, that's using my mean threshold, my entry will actually be at this point. My entry is actually at this point, all right? So we could just say our entry should be at this point, and then our high or our stop loss would actually be over at this point, about 8 pips, all right? So seeing that as 8 pips, what we expect, we expect that market will actually reach this zone, but more realistically, we expect that the draw on liquidity will be at this side. That is the next draw on liquidity. So if we should drag this over here, what do we see from this? We actually see that we get at least let me delete all this, at least 1:11, or we can say 1:11.5 from this certain trade. So that's just the beauty of it, guys. And entering next week, you could actually see how price could potentially get into this zone, or maybe just break this and possibly move from there to trade higher. All right, so that is it, guys. I hope you actually understand the core concept of this ABC pattern, and the idea of using breaker blocks also. And even for more conservative entries, you could just use, let's say you don't even know much about the ABC pattern itself, you just use the fib itself, and from there you can actually say where you expect price to respect from. Most people actually use the OTE, that is the optimal trade entry, that is the 0.7, and also that will actually give you a very core and solid entry. Alright, guys, that will be it for this video. Let me know if you actually like more of this. So next week we might potentially release another one. Alright, that is it from HIT. Nice work, guys. Thank you for watching. If you found this insightful, please do give me a follow, and don't forget to share. If you missed the first part, you can find it via the link in the description below. Thank you for watching.